Sometimes it can be a little bit frustrating being a DC Comics fan, but every once in a while, all that patience pays off, and you're like, what? Are we friends again? Am I your best friend? You're doing stuff that's actually made for comic book readers to get them excited, or at least this comic book fan specifically excited? Yes, thank you very much. We've got a new Aquaman series, and no, Aquaman is not my favorite character. I like Aquaman. You know, Jeff Johns had a damn good Aquaman run. Dan Abnett had a pretty damn solid Aquaman run, but not normally an A-list character. They don't treat him all that well. But it's the creative team on there and what they're doing with Aquaman that has me very, very excited. And then I got some awesome Green Lantern news as well coming out of New York Comic Con. And I couldn't be more excited to talk about all this with you today because I'm over the moon about this one. The DC Universe's champion beneath the seas, Aquaman, is returning for a brand new adventure that sees him gain amazing new powers. Absolute Power has altered Aquaman's powers, giving him new water warping abilities, and just in time too, because giant water-based kaiju are emerging all over the globe. But Arthur isn't alone in this new chapter of his life, as he's joined by a mysterious guide named Dagon, who helps Aquaman discover the secrets of the blue. So there we go. We got some really cool news on Aquaman. Haven't had an ongoing series for about 3 years now. If you remember, we had that really solid run by Abnett that wasn't a great seller, but it was a good seller, especially for Aquaman. Went about 50 issues or something like that. And then they brought back a heavy hitter, Kelly Sue DeConnick, put her on Aquaman. The sales immediately halved upon her arrival and then steadily declined before they decided that they were going to have Arthur Curry become a stay-at-home dad, which was kind of a weird idea. And then it was like Chuck Brown and Brandon Thomas trying to make Jackson Hyde Aquaman. None of that worked out. Finally, we're getting a new Aquaman series, and the premise itself sounds pretty good. I don't know everything that happened in Absolute Power, but it does sound like people gain new abilities. Some abilities were swapped. And Aquaman being able to manipulate water sounds good to me. He's been able to do that in the past, although of late he basically just speaks to fish and, I don't know, hangs out in the ocean. That's kind of the extent of his powers. I think him being able to manipulate water like a water god again is pretty damn cool. And Aquaman fighting kaiju from the trench or whatever mysterious new thing that's happening underneath the surface absolutely works for me. I like kaiju. Aquaman fighting water-based kaiju absolutely sounds terrific in my book. This sounds like a lot of fun, you know, some swashbuckling type of adventures with an Aquaman character that hasn't gotten a lot of TLC as of late. And then we have a new character named Dagon that's going to help him, I don't know, guide him to seeing where the kaijus are coming from and probably discovering some stuff that men caused because they were polluting the oceans or something. You know, typical Aquaman type stories that you get basically on everybody's run there. But hey, if they got giant kaijus coming out of there and Aquaman is fighting them with like water-based construct weapons and all that kind of stuff with a new character named Dagon that isn't Jackson Hyde, I'm all for it. You know, I'm actually pretty excited. But to put me over the top on this sumbitch, what got me super excited is the creative team. Jeremy Adams and John Timms are the new creators on Aquaman. DC also revealed character designs for Mira, Aqualad, and mammoth water construct kaijus that Aquaman and his allies will have to deal with. Now we're speaking my language. DC actually went out there and realized somebody's doing a pretty good job. He did get sales on Flash that had absolutely tanked into a decent number. Not where they should be, but they were certainly trending up when they decided to move him on that title. The sales on Green Lantern are pretty darn steady and seem to be climbing as well. And Jeremy Adams, while not a man with an enormous portfolio of work, basically everything he's done at DC Comics has been pretty darn good. He's also got a really good Flash Gordon series out there. And while Robert Medici certainly remains my favorite comic book writer, Jeremy Adams might be number 2. He's definitely in the top 5, just as far as pound for pound quality comic books that he's delivering. And the guy deserved more work. Did he deserve Aquaman? He probably deserved a better title, a more marquee character than Aquaman. But obviously they don't trust him quite to that degree yet. And I will personally, because I am a writer-based comic book reader, I follow the writers that I like to the titles that they go to. And I don't really worry about too much other than that because I don't really like a whole lot of disappointment. You know, Jeremy Adams is going to deliver you a pretty damn badass Aquaman series. It's going to be lots of fun, lots of adventure. You know, you're going to get the daughter in there, and certainly there's going to be Mira, and there's going to be some family aspects to it. But you're going to get to see Aquaman do Aquaman stuff, which is a delightful change in my opinion, rather than trying to put him on the sideline and elevate Jackson Hyde like everyone else has been trying to do with all these stupid made-up legacy characters over the last decade. Equally intriguing is John Timms on art. For some reason, they haven't really found that place for him, like a really badass, solid, ongoing series. You know, we did Action Comics for quite some time, and that was really good. But John Timms is a fantastic comic book artist. And, you know, you normally don't expect when they put a good writer on a book for them to put a good artist on there too. And I couldn't be more excited. You know, Jeremy Adams deserves a really outstanding comic book artist like John Timms on it. And I think they're going to do amazing work on Aquaman. Do I think it's going to be a top 10 seller? Absolutely not, because it's Aquaman. Do I think fans of Aquaman will enjoy this series if they never heard of Jeremy Adams? Absolutely. If you're a Jeremy Adams fan, do I think you'll like this series? Absolutely. And I think that'll be enough to create a base audience for it. And hopefully it grows over time if it's really good. And it starts to build up to stuff, because he certainly did that in Flash. And we got the 1 minute war, which I thought was pretty good. And he's absolutely building up to some enormous stuff in Green Lantern right now that's really paying off. And we're getting a top fight, like I would call like A-tier creative team there. He might not be the best name, but he is amongst the best writers, if he's not the best writer at DC Comics these days, with an artist that I say is at least top 10. And I think that couldn't be any better. What could be better? If DC actually hired Robert Venditti and put him on a character again. For some reason, he can only come back for Superman 78 miniseries, and I love him, but come on. You know, he's one of the best writers that they have, and they can't find a place for the guy. Hopefully, they get their heads out of their asses. They stop giving stuff to Christopher Cantwright and Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzig and even the Chip Zdarsky's of the world. He fucking totally dropped the ball on a Batman or even a Tom Taylor, although he's exclusive. And they actually give some Robert Venditti some love. And then I'll be really happy. I'll be over the moon, and DC and I will be best friends again. I did mention Green Lantern. We got some new news about that I think is absolutely amazing. In the newest issue of DC Connect, fans get the first details of the next big milestone for Green Lantern, which will take place in January 2025's Green Lantern Fractured Spectrum #1. The new one-shot will be written by Green Lantern writer Jeremy Adams and drawn by V. Ken Marion. And those who pick it up will meet a new type of lantern. These new additions are known as fractal lanterns, and it seems these new lanterns are a direct result of Theros' tampering with the emotional spectrum. The description says the new fractal lanterns are beings that manifest uncontrolled parts of the emotional spectrum, and since the central power batteries fulfilled that purpose, it is likely that some of that energy has now started to have some chaotic effects across the universe. So we're getting another Jeremy Adams written special, and we just got one a couple of weeks ago that was absolutely awesome, Green Lantern Civil War special #1. We're getting another one, but it's also illustrated by B. Kid Marion, one of my favorite Green Lantern artists. I don't know why this dude hasn't gotten an ongoing gig as a Green Lantern artist. You know, he was a fill-in when it was basically Rafa Sandoval and Ethan Sciver as the mainline Green Lantern artist. And he was an absolutely amazing villain artist. He did awesome work there, obviously working with Robert Venditti, my favorite writer on Hal Jordan Green Lantern Corps, and he's done some specials here and there, and obviously he's coming back for a one-shot here. But that's great news. Once again, Jeremy Adams getting paired with a really, really, really good comic book artist. Now, as far as the fractal lanterns go, I think we've probably gone big enough with the emotional spectrum, you know, with the stuff that was introduced, you know, when Blackest Night and all the concepts that kind of played into that. And then you had Scott Snyder with like the UV lanterns, you know, the non-visual spectrum lanterns. And now we've gotten the sorrow lantern, the sad lantern, the depressed lantern, the self-harm lantern, or whatever that came out of Carol leaving her fiance at the altar to go be back with Hal again. And it sounds like we're getting more stuff like that. I'm far less interested in Sorrow Lantern than I am with like what's going on with Kyle Rayner, because he used to be the White Lantern, and all the manipulation going across the emotional spectrum where they destroyed basically all the central power batteries, and it's making him go like absolutely insane. I think that's really interesting. And if that's more along the lines of what these fractal lanterns are going to be, I will find that probably more appealing, just me as a reader. You know, Sad Lantern, Jeremy Adams will do his best. I don't think it's the greatest concept in the world, but even the best writers in the world do come up with kind of some lame concepts every once in a while, but normally they do it in a high level. But I'm just glad that we're getting another special, and we're getting V. Ken Marion on there. Hopefully, Jeremy Adams is able to land and nail this fractal lantern, fractured spectrum kind of concept that's obviously all playing into this civil core war that's going on with the United Planets led by Theros, who basically killed everybody's delegates and all that kind of stuff at the United Planets, replaced them with like Durlocks or whatever, and now they're just kind of catching on to it as they basically broken all that kind of stuff. So he's definitely set up something very, very big. We'll see how it all pays off, but if you're a Jeremy Adams fan, which I am, if you're a John Timms fan, if you're a V. Marion fan, if you're an Aquaman fan, if you're a Green Lantern fan, it was a hell of a good weekend at New York Comic Con. We got great news across the board. DC and I are almost friends again. If they can deliver a couple of more awesome ongoing series, we can probably kiss and make up, because DC has been in a not great state for a long time, and you can't really just have one ongoing series that's really good and have the rest of it be kind of crap. Hopefully, a lot of this new all-in stuff with the new creators really delivers more quality across the board. And I guarantee you this new Aquaman series will be quality across the board. Great writer, great artist. We're getting a one-shot special. Really appreciate that. If you like what we're doing here on Think Critical YouTube, the honesty that we're bringing to the comic book industry, a little bit of levity, having some fun every once in a while, talking about the good and the bad, and you would like to support that mission and what I'm trying to bring to you every single day, I do want to invite you to come visit me on Think Critical Patreon. That is the place to support the channel and our mission here. There's a link in the video description. You get lots of podcasts depending on the tier that you support, bonus videos, polls, all that kind of stuff, and a heaping helping of not only myself, but all of your favorite guests over here on Think Critical YouTube. Hope to see you there very soon.